Hello everyone and welcome to Best Side Cycling. Today I'm here at First and Pike with
Greg Spots.
the former director of transportation here in Seattle. So today's gonna be super exciting. We're gonna be visiting a lot of sort of new developments in the area and get really the commentary of someone that really knows a lot about it. So we're here at First and Pike, and yeah, Greg, you wanna tell us about sort of what's new here?
Sure, I mean, something that's really cool is this east-west connection is part of the Waterfront program. But it was designed with the vehicle, one little vehicle lane in the middle. And when we were preparing to open it, when the Office of the Waterfront was getting ready to open it, this idea got floated, what if we don't entirely open it to cars? What if we make it more of a pedestrian plaza? There was some outreach done to the community. There are some residents here who access their parking through that alley next to the Target. So we ended up making the last half block towards the market pedestrian-only zone. It was really an experiment. And now the Downtown Seattle Association Metropolitan Improvement District is placing furniture out here and cleaning and maintaining it. And I'm really excited about how our second summer will go with this as a place where locals and tourists alike can hang out before or after visiting the market.
So we're going to continue on towards the waterfront. The main disclaimer I want to put here is that this was filmed quite a while ago. Sorry I couldn't get to it earlier, but yeah, a lot of the areas we've seen have seen much further improvements, and it's super exciting. So it's really all starting to come together, but Greg's commentary and thoughts at the time still hold really true, and I think it gives a fantastic perspective about how city officials actually think about our infrastructure.
So we're starting our tour here, and we came here to Bell Street where we're walking down. And what are we looking at, Greg?
So this Bell Street project is the last of the east-west connection projects to go into construction that are part of the Waterfront program. And I'm really pleased that the Waterfront program did think about getting people to and from on bike and on foot. And so you've got, the Pike and Pine duplet that got completed already. And then there's the Yesler Washington project, also through Pioneer Square. So this is the last one. So there's kind of digging this up, and they're going to make a multimodal street here, which will be the northernmost connection down to the waterfront.
For sure. And then, yeah, in terms of how we're using it right now, I mean, we're walking on the sidewalk, but it collects onto the new Elliott Western bike lanes that we're going to be using to, of course, head to the new waterfront. So yeah, let's get on our bikes again and let's check it all out. So we're here on the new Elliott Way bike lanes that I've covered on this channel before. Greg, what do you think?
It's really wonderful to just kind of glide down here. There's differing opinions about whether 4 lanes was needed here.
Yeah.
And all those decisions were made before I moved to Seattle. And it was, the construction was in progress when I got here. I definitely understand people's point of view who say maybe we didn't need 2 lanes each way. And one possibility is to perhaps use this sometimes for street festivals or open streets events. Like, I really like the idea of what if there were some weekends where we could have a bunch of food trucks out here, or some art festival or something.
Yeah, we need more open streets. But quick note, look at Rainier there to the right. This is a fantastic point to get that view. But yeah, we're heading right into the thick of the waterfront now. And I'm sure Greg has lots of thoughts on what we're going to see coming up. Since we're already kicking on, let's hear more about yourself. Like, what's your connection to Seattle?
So, I visited here in 2016, 2018, and 2019. And each time I came, the waterfront was in a different situation. In 2016, the viaduct was open and cars and trucks were clattering and banging and making pollution. And then in 2018, when I came, the car usage for the viaduct had been turned off, but it was still standing. And in 2019, they were starting to demolish it. And that process really intrigued me, this idea that you could reclaim the space from cars and trucks and make it into something beautiful and welcoming. And so when I came up here in 2022 to interview with the mayor for this SDOT job, the morning of my interview, this was June 30th or July 1st, 2022, I came down here early in the morning and I walked around and I asked myself, do I want to be the steward of these streets? And I decided that the way to succeed in the interview would be to be 100% all in on moving to Seattle and doing this job.
Nice.
And so I walked around and asked myself,
let's turn
do I
right here.
have that? You want to turn here?
Yeah.
Do I have that passion to do that? And I came up the harbor steps just a few hundred feet that way, and I suddenly was like, I do want to be the steward of these streets. And I went into the interview 2 hours later, very jazzed. And I told the mayor that if he decided I was the right person for the job, I would interpret that as a call into service, and that I would answer the call.
Nice.
So he made that call like 5 days later.
Oh, okay. Great. All right, so the reason I wanted us to turn out right there is because of this new public amenity, a restroom. I mean, to me,
Hallelujah.
it's hallelujah. Yeah, so I mean, it's right here next to the ferry, super convenient. It's awesome that there's just this space. Any other thoughts about this general area, Greg?
Sure. I mean, I think it's pretty darn exciting how many feet of width have been provided, you know, for walking and biking and landscaping. In some places, I think it's 80 feet wide. And I think this summer we're going to see it's going to be full at a lot of times. Like, I think we're going to need all the width that we've devoted to walking and biking here.
Where do you think, where was like SDOT's sort of main involvement in all of this? Because I guess we hear a lot from like Waterfront Seattle, but where do you think SDOT really came in?
Well, it's interesting that all the employees of the Office of the Waterfront actually are on SDOT's payroll.
Okay.
So the Office of the Waterfront is like a division, an independent division of SDOT, and they have a different reporting structure, reporting right up to the mayor. So SDOT is working hand in hand with the Office of the Waterfront in the design and permitting and operations and maintenance of this whole place.
Sweet. Okay. Nice. The plan today is pretty exciting. We're going to be heading all the way through on these new bike lanes towards East Marginal Way, which is the connection to West Seattle that's currently under construction. And yeah, we'll get some real good insights from Greg. But yeah, how have you been, Greg? How have you been since the transition from being the director of transportation?
I've been great. I went to Japan with my girlfriend, and that was really amazing experience. And you know, the transit is one of the best parts of the whole thing. I just was stunned by the, you know, complexity and yet legibility of the metro system.
Right.
And you know, and we got like one of these digital, you know, Suica cards on the iPhone.
Yep.
Like before we left, we got our digital transit card, and you can use that even, you know, to pay for the bullet train too.
Yep.
Like everything was so seamlessly integrated, and something that I'd never experienced before is if you have that Suica card and you know the Tokyo Metro, you're going to be able to know how to use the Osaka Metro and
Yep.
the Kyoto Metro.
Yep.
And I've never sort of just changed cities and had the exact same signage, the same, you know, fare media, and you just are like in business right away.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really thrilling.
Nice.
Also, kind of a mind-expanding concept for me was that if you want to register a private car in Japan, you have to go down to the police station and show proof that you have an off-street place to park that vehicle. And they actually don't provide any on-street parking almost anywhere at all.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how people even consider a car in some of these East Asian metropolitans. It's not fun.
They
It's hard.
tuck little bits of parking in the neighborhoods, and I have a picture of like an asphalt parking lot with 2 spaces.
Yeah.
The smallest public parking I've ever seen in my life.
And my experience with Japan, just very briefly talking about this, is I mean, the fact that all the drivers there are more or less professional drivers or working drivers, I think when I was cycling there, I've noticed a lot of courtesy. I mean, they generally have a culture of courtesy, but even more so.
Yeah, I mean, Tokyo is this very unusual combination of mega scale and great orderly and courtesy and clean.
Yeah.
You don't usually think of scale like that being so neat and
Yeah.
everybody knowing exactly, where to go and what to do.
Yeah. But centering back on Seattle, where do you think Seattle fits in your range of cities? Like, what do you think about how we're doing multimodal-wise and scale-wise?
When I took the job, I had this hypothesis that Seattle is a great place to practice my craft of helping cities, with their lower carbon transportation. And I still believe that. And my takeaway is that there's so many possibilities in a city that's geographically constrained but growing quickly. And the only way to accommodate this new growth is for people to have a lighter footprint than, 2 cars. If every household that's formed brings 2 cars, we'll be a totally traffic clogged and unpleasant place to live. So I feel it's just an excellent place for folks who are interested in multimodal transportation, to work and learn. And I've learned a lot. One of the things I love about this place is the passionate community of advocates. And I've learned so much from everybody and really enjoyed being accessible to folks, listening to folks, being willing to get out there and walk or ride with folks. And I think it made me a much better SDOT director to have that close contact with everybody.
Spend an hour with him a day, a half hour, whatever.
Oh,
So what's the difference?
let's see.
What's the difference if you're like,
We'll let them go ahead. All right. Yeah, because one main thing I was going to say was that your tenure as SDOT sort of overlapped with the birth of the channel, because the channel started in 2021, but it was like really 2022 where it really started, and I think that's when you started, right? Around then?
Yeah, and I mean, my main motivation was to give you new material to shoot videos.
Okay, let's keep rolling. But I just got to ask for my own sort of fun sake, but like, when was the first time you've heard of Best Side Cycling?
It was very early on in my time here, and I remember thinking, I love to document our new projects, but this guy does it better. And so like, I decided that whenever we open something, I'd, amplify your video because it's just a really concise explanation. And I always really liked how often you had like a map, like a digital map that would show where we are. And sometimes that would be like moving in parallel with the actual footage.
Yeah.
And I love that. I thought that was really clever.
No, that's awesome. That's good. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird background. I mean, I don't know how I got so deep into this, but I would agree with you that it's because of the community. If the community didn't give me the positive feedback, I probably would have stopped a long time ago. But yeah.
Look at how this has been upgraded here, this experience, right? Like, the rail is here, we have to deal with that, but we've got pedestrian scale lighting and landscaping. I think that all this fencing around the port got replaced kind of in parallel with the project. And so I feel much more comfortable here than if it was sort of a raw industrial setting.
Right, right. I mean, you get some hints of
Concertina wire up above.
Yeah, that is still an industrial area, but I agree. This urban sort of landscaping really helps, sort of like this treescaping.
The lighting's really important,
Yeah, right,
especially
that too. Yeah.
in Seattle because there's half the year where it's dark in both ends of your commute. The part that's not daylight savings, and if we really want people to bike year round, we do have to light some of these places.
Does that change operationally what SDOT does compared to other cities, do you think? Like, do we intentionally put more lights or account for wet?
I think we do when we can, and there's a really interesting philosophical question of sort of quick and simple to get the mobility versus comprehensive upgrading of the infrastructure. And some of the advocates say, you know, why does it take you guys so long to make a bus rapid transit line? Just like paint it, change the signals and call it done. But I actually really like that there's an aspiration here to renew the infrastructure top to bottom, and that on Rapid Ride G and Rapid Ride J, there's brand new water main that's going to last 100 years. There's new drainage. You're getting revisions to a lot of the intersections with curb bulb outs and better ramps. And I think it is pretty meaningful if you choose your corridors carefully to be able to renew a whole lot of the elements at the same time. But there may be other occasions where that more kind of rough and ready approach might be very, very appropriate.
So we're now going to be heading into that new East Marginal Way corridor, which I have not seen in the longest time, and is deep in active construction. But Greg wanted to come by here and sort of talk about some of the things he's most excited about it. So I'll let you lead the way a little bit and, to the section you want to see.
It's too loud too.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. We'll see what we can do. Is there a signal for this side? I think it's...
She decided to go.
Yeah, let's just go.
All right. One of the things that surprised me when I moved up here is that there's such a wide variety of quality in the urban design and maintenance of the streetscape. And that some of the industrial areas are very raw, falling apart, and sometimes, some of the commercial users are just using the public right-of-way in whatever way they want without any regulation at all. And that's kind of like what this corridor felt like before we started this project.
Yeah. So we're running into some of the construction now, and there's currently some bike detour access. So let's check some of this out. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, so what's really exciting is that for the first time, we're going to have a separated bike path along East Marginal, and that's that asphalt pathway you see to our left. There was really great collaboration between the port, the freight community, and the bike community on this project. And everybody accepted that because of the freeway here and the railroad tracks, this is the only route getting north-south, connecting kind of the edge of West Seattle with downtown, and it needed to be shared. Like, cyclists need it equally to freight. What freight gets out of this project is this super heavy-duty concrete roadway here. This used to be an asphalt roadway. It was falling apart. It was never designed for the load of port drayage trucking with heavy containers. I think this is 14 inches worth of concrete. This is going to last forever. And over there to the left used to be different trucks were parked all over the place, and there was piles of garbage, and it was really not programmed and not pleasant. And this project organizes that area for a separated bikeway and some landscaping. And this rebar here, that's going to be this concrete barrier, kind of like a Jersey barrier, but permanent. That's going to provide that safe separation for the cyclists on the other side of the barrier. And it's also going to make that whole area have a much nicer urban design There used to be, all kinds of kind of informal and messy uses of that part of the public right-of-way over there. And we're now utilizing it so that, everybody has their own space. The pedestrians have a nice sidewalk to the right. The trucks have their super heavy-duty roadway here. And there'll be an excellent bikeway over there connecting people from the waterfront to the Spokane Street Bridge to pop over to West Seattle.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
By the way, underneath here is a brand new water main. And this project took the longest from awarding the contract to issuing the contractor a notice to proceed of any project I've ever worked on, because we had to order the water pipe, and it's special seismically resilient water pipe where the joints between the pipe segments can wiggle a little bit if there's an earthquake. And that pipe had to be custom sourced, and it took about a year to get. So I was just like eagerly waiting for the groundbreaking after we awarded the contract, and everybody just kept telling me as soon as the pipe arrives, then the contractor can start digging and installing that pipe.
So you're mentioning to me that this was a long process because it involved so many different people and advocates. When was that decision made? And I guess really simply, what do you think cyclists did well here? Or what can advocates do well to make sure stuff like this happens more often?
The West Seattle bike advocacy group was very sophisticated in seeking partnership with the port and with trucking, with the idea that we can all share the space, and by sharing it, there'll be less safety risks for the truckers as well. And I'd like to see more of that type of collaboration and mutual trust as future projects are planned in the city, because historically, those two interests have not really worked together in a harmonious way like that. And it was really neat. Everybody was present at our groundbreaking, and you could feel this genuine warmth between everybody and pride in getting to this important milestone.
Right.
So we really can share the public right-of-way if we build trust, understand each other's needs, and work together.
All right, so we made it here to East Marginal Way on the south end, closer towards the Lower Street Bridge, where there is some new bike infrastructure that I've seen, this new connection, this new trail here. But yeah, Greg, what do you think?
I'm just so excited by what that looks like over there. I remember coming down here and touring this project, and there was construction materials and trucks parked every which way. Like, it was just a total free-for-all as you got closer to that overpass. And now we've organized it and done some nice urban design, and cyclists are gonna have a wonderful time heading north as they, after they come over the Spokane Street Bridge from West Seattle.
How does this rank in your sort of list of favorite projects around Seattle? Like, where does this fit in? Because they're also different, I've noticed. So is there ones that you like?
There's a category of projects like over $20 million, and there's only a few of them, and they tend to be quite technically complex. East Marginal is one of them. The biggest one was Rapid Ride G, and then I'm very proud of completing design on Rapid Ride J and getting that under construction with the busway and bike lanes up to the U District. So there was just a handful of these larger projects that move much slower and require a lot of careful civil engineering and stakeholder interaction. And those will be a neat part of my legacy here.
Nice, yeah. You'll definitely be remembered for a lot of great things that happen in the city.
So hope you're enjoying this format so far. Something really different, bringing someone on. From here, we went on to ride towards West Seattle, discussing a lot more about sort of Greg's background and into bike infrastructure in general. If you think that's gonna be interesting, definitely just let me know in the comments below, as well as don't forget to roll over the like button and subscribe. It'll definitely point me into the right direction, and let me know maybe who else you want to see on the channel. So yeah, after a great time just riding on Alki, hanging out a bit, we take the water taxi back towards downtown Seattle.
We're back here in downtown after taking the water taxi. Greg, how was it? What do you think of today?
I had such a good time with you today. Thank you so much for having me on. I'd love to come back and chime in here and there on new videos that you're making. And it'd be really fun to have a couple of group rides when we open the Beacon Hill bike lane and the Alaska Way bike lane that will connect this waterfront path here up to the sculpture garden and the pathway on the Elliott Bay Trail. So hopefully this won't be the last time you see Greg on this channel.
100%, I appreciate that. Yeah, I hosted that waterfront bike lane ride. Look out for more, but I think that's all we have for this video, so we'll see you all in the next one.